Looks like they don't need the Biden of Brooklyn to bootleg for them anymore. Now available in paperback and e-readers, The Temptation of John Haynes. Give in to temptation and pick up this action-packed African-American paranormal romance. Get The Temptation of John Haynes in paperback and e-readers today. Better get the coleslaw, y'all, cause we're having us a barbecue. One of my viewers wanted me to talk about the FBI raiding the home of a top fundraiser for New York Mayor Eric Adams.
There is still a lot that we don't know about the investigation, but two highly placed sources tell CBS 2 the raids are part of an international probe into, quote, foreign government influence peddling. This, of course, in relation to the New York City mayor. CBS 2's Allie Bauman is live now in Crown Heights, where a raid was conducted this morning. Allie?
Well, Christine, even though no arrests have been made and no charges filed, this FBI raid was enough of a concern to prompt Mayor Adams to cancel his meetings with the White House today about the migrant crisis and return early to New York from D.C. Tonight, the mayor said he will fully cooperate with law enforcement agencies and that he's prompted his City Hall and campaign staff to do the same.
I feel extremely comfortable about how I comply with rules and procedures.
Mayor Adams speaking to our Marcia Kramer and other reporters Thursday night for the first time since FBI agents raided the Crown Heights home of his chief fundraiser and campaign consultant, Brianna Suggs, hours earlier.
A real professional, she does her job well, and she's going to comply with any inquiry that's made.
This was one of multiple raids that two highly placed sources say are part of an international probe into what those sources describe to CBS 2 as foreign government influence peddling. The mayor maintains he has not been contacted as part of this inquiry.
We have probably one of the strictest reviews. We have a review of the team. We have a compliance attorney that I pay that does the review also. We carry a very strict review to do the best we can to make sure that we are having those dollars that are coming in that are appropriate. We turn down a lot of money. We send it back. We don't believe it's correct. So we adhere to a very strict policy in our campaign.
Suggs, who is also a lobbyist, has been paid about $100,000 over the past 2 years by the Adams campaign. It's unclear what was in those evidence boxes that officers carried out of her brownstone.
Woke up to the FBI. I never saw the FBI on the block. I know whatever's going on, she got caught up drawn in because they're a good family.
According to the New York Times, FBI agents from one of the agency's public corruption squads questioned Suggs during the raid. One highly placed source tells CBS 2 the federal probe may include the country of Turkey, which Adams visited before taking office.
I'm probably the only mayor in the history of this city that has not only visited Turkey once, but I think I'm on my 6th or 7th visit to Turkey.
Well, this is not the first time the mayor's circle has caught the attention of law enforcement. Over the summer, the district attorney indicted 6 people for conspiring to funnel illegal campaign donations to his 2021 mayoral campaign. We're live in Crown Heights, Brooklyn. Allie Bauman, CBS 2 News.
All right, Allie, thank you.
Now, as New York Mayor Eric Adams was on a flight to Washington, D.C. to meet with officials from the Biden administration to discuss alleviating the migrant crisis that's overwhelming New York City with federal financial support, the FBI raided the home of Eric Adams' top fundraiser, 25-year-old Brianna Suggs. And as they were raiding the home of 25-year-old Brianna Suggs, the FBI was looking for alleged information on a search warrant regarding the Adams campaign taking illegal campaign contributions from individuals from the Turkish government. Now, according to reports, the FBI was looking for information regarding a real estate company called KSK, a real estate company in Brooklyn that allegedly has ties to the Turkish government, and this company made over 11 donations to the 2021 campaign for mayor that Eric Adams was running. And as they made these donations to the Adams campaign, these donations were made in sequence by multiple employees, and that set off a red flag for the FBI, who saw that these donations appeared to possibly be suspect, and this is why they wanted to implement a search warrant to further investigate the records of the fundraising that went on with the Eric Adams 2021 campaign, and possibly will be doing some investigating into the 2025 Adams campaign for mayor. Now, as the mayor found out about this raid that was going on at Brianna Suggs' home, he immediately ordered the plane he was on to Washington to turn around and return to New York City. Now, you would think that the mayor would want to prioritize a meeting with the Biden administration to get funding for all of the migrants that he claims will destroy New York City. But what made Eric Adams turn that plane around is because he knows that these allegations as related to a campaign finance scandal will possibly wind up destroying his career and may possibly wind up being the thing to take not only his job as mayor, but also take away his freedom. Now, what's going on here with Eric Adams really doesn't have anything to do, I believe, with the Biden administration having issue with him speaking against the Biden administration. No, there has been investigations going on into Eric Adams, even as he got elected into office. Now, as far back as December of 2021, there were people rumbling about Eric Adams having some shady alleged business going on, and his hobnobbing with people as he became the mayor-elect was starting to upset a lot of these individuals in high places who weren't really happy about Eric Adams going out here and making a lot of noise. So Eric Adams had a target on his back from minute one. Unfortunately, he was too busy shucking and jiving like George Jefferson to understand the subtle politics transpiring around him. And because he didn't understand the subtle politics transpiring around him, instead of playing a game of chess, he played a game of Candyland with white supremacy, and as he was playing this game of Candyland with white supremacy, the white supremacists were out here making power moves in order to gain an advantage over Eric Adams, who could not see the board for chess because he was so caught up in his feelings about so-called arriving and so-called getting clout with all of these individuals in high social circles that he couldn't see that all of these individuals in high social circles really weren't interested in seeing a black man be the mayor of New York. And just as he was getting sworn in as mayor, they were looking to make a plan to take him out. This was shown to me in a New York Times article that came out in January of 2021, where they sat down and talked about how Eric Adams was out here meeting with high-end individuals who were Italian, and this whole meeting was really rubbing a lot of people the wrong way. So he was making a lot of enemies early on, and basically thinking he was getting in with white folks, not understanding many of the white folks he was bootlicking for were the same ones looking for a way to get him out of that office and couldn't see the big picture regarding the subtle politics transpiring around him. No, he was just so caught up in arriving and being caught up in being this darling of these people in political circles that he couldn't see that the whole system of white supremacy had no interest in him at all. No, they were just going through the motions, and as they were going through the motions, they were long-term making their plans to deal with Eric Adams, but he couldn't see it at all. No, he just thought, oh, he could bootlick and pander his way into these white supremacist social circles, not understanding that these white supremacist social circles are anti-black from minute one. And when they see a black bootlick, what they do is they start sizing that individual up to see how they could use them for their agenda. And if they can't use them for their agenda, that's where they start making the plans to take him out. And Eric Adams didn't understand this because he thought he could just go out here and throw middle fingers up at all of the black people who would not go out here and take a jab of that medicine. He thought he could just go out here and have beefs with people like Kyrie Irving and the million New Yorkers who he kept out of a job or cost jobs because they wouldn't take the shot, because he wanted to keep that mandate going in order to try to get favor with all of these white individuals. But those white individuals didn't care about him at all. No, they just saw him as a clown. And now that he's out here, going out here, and they no longer need him, they're looking to start making their plans for the 2025 election, and those plans do not include Eric Adams at all. So what's happening here is, again, it was built up all the way back in 2021, and as Greg Abbott was sending the migrants to New York in 2022, Eric Adams was out here thinking that he was going to create a covert contract where he could gain favor with the Biden administration. He was thinking he could gain favor with Joe Biden in the hopes of getting himself a job by virtue signaling, and he thought he could go out here and show how New York was going to be about diversity and inclusion. And what they were basically showing him was a plan to exclude him, just as he was looking to show how inclusive New York City was, pressing the flesh of these migrants and giving them handshakes and giving them free stuff. But as he started to get overwhelmed by the migrants, that's where he went out here and was looking to make demands from the Biden administration for more money. And as he looked to make demands for the Biden administration for more money, this is where a rift between Eric Adams and the Biden administration started to grow, because there never really was a connection there, because Joe Biden never really cared about Eric Adams. No, this is why he never really met with him, because he never really saw him as a mayor who he was going to take seriously. No, when he saw Eric Adams, he saw a token and a bootlick and that he really didn't need to deal with, and he saw that there was a plan to basically eliminate this man from the business circles far back as 2021, and this is why they let the migrant crisis basically overrun New York City, so that the mayor would be shown for the incompetent that he is, as he went out here virtue signaling and eventually got overwhelmed because the city was already in a situation due to de Blasio's mismanagement and already had a fiscal deficit. But that didn't stop Eric Adams from bringing in migrants who would overwhelm and overtax city services like Department of Homeless Services, like the Department of Welfare, like food stamps. I mean, just overwhelm the systems. And as this was going on, the Biden of Brooklyn was looking to get help from Joe Biden, but got absolutely nothing but silence from Joe Biden. And as he got nothing but silence from Joe Biden, he was desperate to try to find a way out of the hole he had put himself in, taking in all of these migrants. And as he was looking to take in all of those migrants, he was, again, so desperate, and then started looking to discourage people from coming to New York City. But none of this was going to happen, because most of the people who were migrants weren't listening to him. One, because he was a black man. Two, because they had no respect for him, because they just had no regard for him. And as this was going on, the migrants kept coming in, and he had no support politically from the governor, Kathy Hochul, who put distance between herself and Eric Adams, and Joe Biden, who basically dropped Eric Adams from his whole presidential campaign. So Eric Adams was basically a man who was on thin ice for an extended period of time. And now what's happening here with this whole situation, with his campaign finance manager, is the white supremacists basically are getting ready to implement phase 2 of breaking their toy. In a previous video, I talked about how this was part of the multi-stage N-word moment. They want to send a message with Eric Adams to all of these black bootlicks that if you don't go out here and follow the line of white supremacy, what's going to happen is they can find a way to take you out. And again, they were getting ready to take Eric Adams out anyway, because I had said to myself a while back that he's going to wind up leaving the mayor's office one of two ways. He's either going to get voted out as a one-term mayor, or he's going to get a federal indictment. And it looks like the FBI is looking like it's getting ready to go down the road of federal indictment, because when you look at these alleged allegations for campaign finance mismanagement, these are serious charges, and these are the kind of charges that can basically destroy a politician, and also not only destroy his political career, but also wind up taking away his freedom. These are the kind of charges that a smart politician will go out here and try to be on top of as related to their finances. And a smart one will go out here and look at those kind of donations coming in a sequence like this and basically give that money back, because they understand what's happening here can be used against them by the FBI. And with the FBI out here again looking for anything on a black man, they're going to look for something to go out here and use against that black man. But Eric Adams couldn't really see the big picture, because he was out here clout chasing. He was caught up in his feelings about arriving politically, that he couldn't see that the subtle politics around him. And with the subtle politics around a black man has to be on top of everything as related to his business. Every dollar that you get, you have to document. Every dollar that you get has to be allocated towards whatever you're putting it in. You have to make sure that every detail and everything in that whole campaign is accounted for, and you have to make sure that the people you're getting money from are not people who are involved in all sorts of shady enterprises. Unfortunately, Eric Adams was just so starstruck and spellbound by all of the attention he was receiving that he couldn't take a critical look at who was paying him attention, and that's why he's scrambling right now, hoping that he can be able to hold off another political scandal as related to his administration. But what he doesn't really see is the big picture as related to white supremacy. When it comes to white supremacy and black bootlicks, a black bootlick is somebody that they're always looking to break, and they look to break their bootlicks once they consider that they have no use for him. And with Eric Adams right now, he's basically a guy that they have absolutely no use for. He's a liability to the Biden 2024 campaign, because he's a member of the Blue Party who spoke against Joe Biden's whole migrant crisis. He's a guy who's a liability to state politicians like Kathy Hochul, because he's a loose cannon. And most New Yorkers don't have a favorable view of Eric Adams. Most New Yorkers really don't see him as a competent politician in being the executive branch of New York City. No, they see a city that is basically running on a dysfunctional path similar to the one that David Dinkins had it on back from 1989 to 1993. And what's happening now here with Eric Adams as related to this scandal is that white supremacy is basically sending out a message to Eric Adams that they're about to give him his walking papers, and if he doesn't start walking, they may be sending agents to walk into his office and have him arrested in a humiliating fashion. That's if they don't give him another hint to go out here and resign. Because what's going on here, again, is that we have another black bootlick who is learning the hard way that you cannot go out here and make a deal with white supremacy, because white supremacy only has one job for a bootlick, and that job is to be the fall guy. And since Eric Adams has basically gone out here and proven that he cannot be a tool for their migrant crisis anymore, they're going to make him the fall guy, and they're out to make him the fall guy as related to this entire situation regarding this whole campaign finance issue. And Eric Adams basically dug a grave for himself, because he went out here and got with this 25-year-old woman, because I used to work in fund development. I was 26 years old when I was working fund development at Strive, and a 25-year-old person really doesn't know a lot about finance or anything as related to nonprofits. So you have a green individual out here over your campaign finance, and that's a setup for disaster. And again, shows how he doesn't really understanding the subtle politics transpiring around him, couldn't see the chess game, because if you're running a campaign for mayor, you want to have a seasoned and experienced person running your campaign finance, because a seasoned and experienced person would have caught that whole situation and said, hey, these donations are all coming from somewhere and it's not looking quite right. I need to go out here, return this money, because if I keep this money, it's going to be on my records, and it's not money I want to be associated with, because what's going to happen is they're going to do an investigation. And if they do an investigation and find this money, that's going to lead to federal charges. But Eric Adams wasn't playing the game of political chess. He was playing Candyland, caught up in his feelings like George Jefferson, hoping he could jive his way into the office of mayor. But we see that as he was trying to jive his way into the office of mayor, what he's done is go out here and try to run a hustle, not understanding that when you're dealing with white supremacy looks for the most minute of details in order to take a black person out. And this is why, if you're a black person, you have to have all your I's dotted, all your T's crossed, all your Q's crossed. Everything has to be above board, because the white supremacists will look for the most minute of minute details when it comes down to a black person. And with a black bootlick, they are looking for the most minutest of minute details and the weakest links in order to be able to get this black bootlick broken. And once they see that they find that option and they want to break that black person, they use that minute detail to go out here and have that person taken down in the most ignominious fashion. Because what's happening here, and I can look at the chess moves on the board, they want to go out here and raid the home of Breonna Suggs, possibly bring in this 25-year-old, and then this 25-year-old will go out here and start naming names and start flipping people, and that's the end of Eric Adams, which is what all of the people in the Blue Party want, because they don't want to see a black person having power. But Eric Adams this is all karma for him, because he wanted to destroy black people with his jab mandate in 2021. He wanted to go out here and clout chase and bootlick these whites, and now what they're doing is showing him how black he is. And now that the cream of wheat man is being shown how black he is, he's scrambling and possibly looking for help, and finding that there's no help for him at all as related to the system of white supremacy. And this is what he basically deserves, because he, again, destroyed the lives of 1 million black people by putting that jab mandate in place that kept a lot of black people out of work, kept people like Kyrie Irving from playing for the Nets. And now the same white supremacists he was pandering to are looking to keep him from playing a political game. So when I look at Eric Adams, he basically is reaping what he sowed, greater than what he sowed, later than what he sowed, and this is what he deserves for going out here and doing black people dirty. And he basically did a lot of black folks dirty. So he can't sit here and say, oh, I'm being done bad. And this is what he's trying to possibly do, trying to deny, oh, there's nothing really wrong. No, there's a lot wrong here, because this is the latest scandal, and he's sitting there thinking he's still got some points with these white supremacists, thinking he can possibly pivot over to the Red Party, but neither party has any use for a black bootlick, and they don't trust a black bootlick who will go out here and play both sides. So Eric Adams is looking like a guy who is on his way out, and he's on his way out because he just doesn't see the subtle politics transpiring around him, and still doesn't see the big picture around the nuances as related to the politics going on. This FBI raid is a message from those in the FBI and the government that Eric Adams has basically outlived his usefulness, and they are looking for a way to get rid of Eric Adams and deal with him once and for all. Now, this was a video requested by one of my viewers, and if you want to request a video, you can send a donation to the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. And if you want to pick up some of my positive black fiction on the SJS Direct imprint, you can head over to Amazon.com and pick up a paperback or a Kindle book, and pick up one of those books at Amazon or one of these other online booksellers. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited. John Haynes, the man with nothing to lose. The man who rules the world runs into the irresistible force of a man with nothing to lose in this action-packed, all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get the regular and variant editions of John Haynes, the man with nothing to lose on Amazon.com today. Support black-owned and black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.